All right, hello guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Origins of Today podcast. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about cancel culture, both from the past and the present, and how it affects societal views on things, especially major influential topics, and how it influences politics. I hope you guys enjoy this episode. We're going to get straight into it right after this intro.
And some, I assume, are good people.
President note that the first atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima.
You need to pray for the good Lord to protect America.
Won the race of discovery against the Germans.
So when you think about modern cancel culture, a lot of times you think of public backlash against an idea, public shaming, deplatforming. But erasing people, ideas, and movements has been happening for millennia. Ancient states, churches, and mobs, they all tried to delete stuff that they didn't like, including history and traditional values and societal norms. So the first idea we're going to be looking at is from ancient Rome, and it's damnatio memoriae. And that means, in Latin, the condemnation of memory. This was a practice used by the Roman Senate to erase disgraced emperors or enemies of the state. So methods of this would be striking their name from records, chipping faces off of statues and mosaics. We often see that a lot of times in art that has survived. The faces will just be chipped off of this like bust of an emperor or powerful figure. And that's because they just wanted to erase whoever it was from their history. Coins would be reminted or defaced, and even official histories would be rewritten. And I mean, the purpose is to really just make it seem like the person didn't ever exist. Obviously, if you're, 2 generations ahead of when this person lived, you wouldn't know that they existed because everything would be gone. And speaking of ancient Rome, we can even look to book burnings done by Rome under Julius Caesar, and the ancient Library of Alexandria. It was burned multiple times, but most notably it was burned by Julius Caesar's troops and also religious fanatics. Those crazy Catholics, they'd be running out there burning books. No one thought that. And moving on, in the Qin dynasty, there was burning of books and burying of scholars. And this was in 213 BC, so that was a very long time ago. Just a little simple math here. That was all basically 2,200 years ago. It's been going on for a long time. And basically, the emperor destroyed historical texts and executed Confucian scholars to gain power. This is very classic cancel culture here. The Catholic Church's Index Librorum Prohibitorum. They have a list of banned books from 1559 all the way to 1966. And these even included Enlightenment thinkers like Galileo, Copernicus, people like that. Very smart scholars, but banned by the Catholic Church. And then obviously some of the most famous examples come from Nazi Germany, where there were mass book burnings of, quote, un-German literature, such as Jewish, Marxist, and liberal writings. And it was a symbol of ideological cleansing and cultural control. It was pretty much just another way to make the Aryan race better, stuff like that. And I might even do an episode on Bonhoeffer one of these days. My Christian boys out in the chat, you guys know what I'm talking about. But no, it definitely, Nazi Germany burning books was a fascinating topic. 1933, pretty much all the early 30s was a very interesting time in Europe in general. So yeah, I definitely recommend you guys looking into that. But that was just a little bit of off topic. And then we can also see religious groups destroying sacred images. So obviously, the Catholic Church believes in the veneration of saints. These paintings, I don't think it's just the Catholic Church. I think the Orthodox and side of Christianity, non-Protestant. So, you can see in the Byzantine Empire, there was a religious movement to destroy icons that were seen as idolatrous. And this led to riots, political turmoil, and civil war in the empire. And that's what happens when you try to do cancel culture. That is a direct correlation of cancel culture. We even saw that in 2020 when people are saying don't spread misinformation. I'm using quotation marks because who knows what that means. They didn't even know what misinformation meant. And Really, I mean, you saw a huge backlash against that. That's why different platforms formed, like Rumble. Uh, uh, Elon Musk bought Twitter, turned it into X. There was a major backlash, and people they wanted to find a place to tell the truth, say the truth, and not feel oppressed by this cancel culture ideology. And in the Protestant Reformation, 16th century, radical reformers destroyed Catholic imagery, statues, paintings, altars, and these were seen as corrupt, idolatrous, or oppressive. You know what? I might have to have some of my Catholic friends this podcast so we can talk about that. And then French Revolution, churches were looted, royal symbols were defaced or destroyed, in the attempt to erase monarchy, religion, and old social structures. I mean, that is liberalism. We derive most of modern liberalism from the French Revolution. I mean, really, that is what kind of started it all. And even here, you can see they're trying to destroy traditional norms. And look, I think a little bit of liberalism is okay in certain places, but when you just try to outright destroy the system works. Obviously, because we're all still alive. We've made it here. I mean, through the grace of God. But that is where most people will say that modern liberalism was founded, is in the French Revolution. So obviously, that'd be a hotbed for stuff like cancel culture. And in another example here, I mean, this is also, once again, a classic representation of cancel culture, kind of closer to the modern times, in the USSR, photo manipulation. Enemies of Stalin were removed from photos, so like Trotsky was famously edited out of a picture. And I mean, textbooks were rewritten, purged individuals were forgotten or reframed. I mean, with the advent of Photoshop and like being able to cut people out of images, a cancel culture, and especially like just destroying people's livelihoods, like the knowledge of people, has become so much more prevalent. And it makes me wonder how much AI is going to influence this. When you can just get someone to say anything on a video and just make a video of someone saying something, it's going to be wild. It really is. North Korea, historical revisionism is always constant. Kim Jong-un's family's divine status was constructed through the basically real history being erased. Obviously, Kim Jong-un is not from divine origin. But yeah, I mean, so definitely extremist countries, but we can see it in our country too. For example, deleted tweets, YouTube videos removed. This one might even get removed. You never know. Authors are banned. Some platforms obviously can just delete a content creator. I mean, it's their platform. I think that's, personally, I don't know how I feel on whether or not that's a free speech violation. I'm going to have to think a little bit more on that. But definitely make sure you yell at me in the comments or saying that. I'm not going to outright say that's a free speech violation. And obviously, the algorithm can really screw you over. I think that's happening to me on one of my other channels right now. But no, I mean, digitally, the digital world is so much different than 2,000 years ago. Like we were talking about, it's been happening for a long time, but it's just a different type of cancel culture now. We can even see, I mean, there's just new tools now. Social media can just barrage you, and you'll just, you can just ruin your livelihood. It can slander you, blaspheme you. Loss of sponsorships, jobs, platforms, online harassment, mob justice. Cancel culture takes many different forms nowadays, but it still is the same cancel culture from years ago. Parallels to history are really control over public memory. They can say anything that they want about you on social media, and if enough people say it, people will start believing it. And it really just controls how the public thinks about you. Symbolic destruction. So like in 2020, I'm making a whole video on this when we do it, because I'm doing a Civil War video soon. You guys are gonna love to hear my take on the Civil War. I'm gonna get canceled. But statues were just removed. You can't, just Confederate statues especially were just taken down and removed. That is symbolic destruction of our history, our past. And like I said, I'll talk about that soon. But you guys are gonna love my take on it. It's gonna be funny. I can't wait to see the comments. But yeah, we can see many modern representations of cancel culture. Make sure to comment down below if you guys know any. Just put them down, because I'm sure a lot of you out there have been canceled too. I know a lot of Even just people saying things on Twitter before Elon Musk bought it. You get your account banned. So, I mean, the questions we have to ask after this are, who gets to decide what's erased? I don't think anything should be erased, so I don't think anyone should get to decide what's erased. But who is deciding what gets erased? Is canceling a tool of justice or censorship? And I think the ultimate question we should be asking ourselves after hearing about this going on for 2,000 years and counting, and even the question that we ask on most of our episodes, are we really learning from history, or are we repeating its same mistakes in new packaging? What are the consequences of censorship? Is the consequence that we keep continuing the cycle over and over again of making the same mistakes? Something to think about. Anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed this episode. Hope you'll have a great day, and God bless. I really do mean that when I say it. God bless. I hope you guys have a great day.